Hello and welcome to the TechGig podcast. I'm Sukriti Yaduwanshi and I'm here with a conversation on the role of IoT in boosting mass adoption of EVs in India. IoT is playing a very important role when it comes to the EV market, especially in India. It can gauge an absolute and relative parameters of the driver, such as speed, acceleration, and several other pointers, and also gives a real-time, data in order to have better performance. Today, we will be talking about how IoT is actually aiding this entire adoption of EVs in India and how the entire mechanism and the fundamentals are changing or is innovating in India. Folks, please welcome Sameer Mahapatra, Country Manager India and SAARC at Aeris Communications, for this conversation today. Welcome to the show, Sameer.
Sukriti, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to an exciting conversation on a very exciting topic, which is electric vehicle and IoT in the country. So thank you so much.
Thanks for being here, Sameer. I will quickly go ahead with the questions. So the first thing that I would want to know from you is the challenge part. What are the challenges with the adoption of electric vehicles in a market like India?
Sukriti, I think the question of challenges, is divided fairly into two parts. One is the technology and adoption challenges, and second is the mindset challenges. Uh, on the technology side or on the infra side, I guess the main issue is establishing the real addressable market of EV before it ripens to become profitable. And this is on the large side of the OEMs and the people who are going to push for electric vehicles. Readily available charging and battery swapping infrastructure are required to turn in consumers more and more and make them confident in buying EV in India. And I think as a country, as an economy, we've just about taken some baby steps in getting to do this, but there's a long way to go. If I had to, break it down from a consumer's perspective, I think range anxiety, while it seems like a simple, small term, is becoming a national fear of being stranded with a flat battery out of reach of the nearest charging point, unlike a fuel pump or a diesel pump that you find in every nook and corner. I think this is one of the major areas of concern currently stranded in the EV buyer's mind. None of them are very sure about, how this will evolve, how this will look like. And that is why if you see the percentage adoption of electric vehicles as compared to the overall vehicle statistics is still in, a poor single digits. This will be a long journey from here onwards. While we see some very serious absolute numbers happening, but for a country like India, we know that it's a long way to go. But very strong footprints and a clear sunrise sector in front of us. I think these are some of the challenges. If we peep into the union budget of 2022, government, and which is supposed to be the harbinger of this entire exercise, has laid down some great emphasis on EV ecosystem. The industry was expecting it, and it came through. This will not only promote and encourage private sector, but also on the consumer side, the entire subsidy, the entire push will now catapult this into huge growth trajectories. So while the challenges are real, but I think the tools and what needs to be done for these challenges are pretty much black and white. They just needs to be execution of those policies and on-ground stuff which needs to happen fast. And we will see some of these challenges, getting off our way very soon in the coming quarters and years as the economy gets used to electric verification. So I think, yes, these are some of the challenges, and the roadmap ahead is pretty clear.
Wonderful. So I think those were some really helpful insights, Sameer. Moving on to the next one, what is the pace of adoption for IoT-enabled EVs in India? What portion do you think, and what pace is exactly Indian market is moving?
Yeah. So IoT adoption, even before electric vehicles happened, to this country and to the world at all, I think IoT adoption has always been there, with IC engine vehicles also. However, with electric vehicles, IoT adoption is now being seen as not an optional or good to have feature, but it is something which is must have. With IoT, EV OEMs, battery manufacturers, financiers, insurers, all of this entire ecosystem finds themselves in a comfort space by having anytime, anywhere, and from any device access to real-time information on their investments in the movable assets, pretty much remotely sitting all over the world. So IoT is now sitting at the core of electric vehicle ecosystem. The reason why I'm saying electric vehicle ecosystems is that while absolutely for the electric vehicles, uh, IoT is something that they cannot afford not to have, but it stretches beyond the vehicles itself. Now, what I mean by that is that you have a battery OEM, you have a battery swapping industry, you have the entire consumer at the end of this paraphernalia. All of these people are consumers of the IoT that is sitting at the core of this ecosystem. Everybody needs to have the gold mine, which is the data today, which is coming out of these vehicles, which enables the financer to track his assets, which enables the insurers to see, what is the driver behavior, which enables the cargo delivery entity to see if the cargo is being delivered on time. And of course, it enables the entire battery swapping community to know whether the battery that had left their battery swapping station has come back to them or not, and in what state. So IoT enablement is growing at a very, very fast rate, almost at the same rate at which the EV adoption in India is going up. I think as the use cases stabilize and as the industry standardizes, I think IoT would be at the forefront of enabling this entire ecosystem. So I do not today see IoT adoption and EV adoption at a very, very different rate. While it is catching up, because the EV players themselves are currently struggling in terms of their own interoperability. As that stabilizes and grows, I think IoT would be the most prominent and key enabler in getting this industry to the next level. Yeah.
Okay, can you tell us about the impact of the Internet of Vehicles, that is IOV, on the future of the electric vehicle industry?
The Internet of Vehicle is expected to become the future of electric vehicle industry with a network of vehicles communicating with each other and other intelligent devices. So in some parts of the world, where this has been more prominently done, and Internet of Vehicles has a lot of dependency on the overall telecom infrastructure of the country. Whether you are working on a 5G backhaul in the country, or whether you are working on a 4G, what is the rural penetration versus the urban penetration. But let me just take a step back and simplify what is IOV from a end consumer's perspective. Now, Internet of Vehicles, or what I call as vehicle-to-vehicle communication, is the entire ecosystem where we get one vehicle to talk to another vehicle. Now, where we get one vehicle to talk to another infrastructure. I'll give you an example. For example, you and me are driving two different vehicles, on the same road, same road, maybe 2 kilometers away. And if my vehicle is able to talk to your vehicle, why it would want to talk to your vehicle, I'll come to that later on. But let's say if my vehicle is able to talk to your vehicle and pass on some data, which helps you or me or the traffic management around us to manage the traffic better, to avoid any kind of crashes which are happening, to pass on data to central administrative traffic management systems to tell that XYZ lanes are not to be taken by any more vehicles, to tell me that XYZ parking lanes are now available and I should go to that parking slot instead of going to another parking slot. That transforms the entire traffic management, fuel consumption, and driver behavior in the ecosystem. Now that is what vehicle to vehicle and Internet of Vehicle is supposed to do. So I mean, this has the potential to positively influence not only the industry by enhancing safety and a lot of positive impact on the environment, but as well as doing a lot of economic cost benefit to the whole ecosystem. So Internet of Vehicles, however, what I said in the beginning is that is heavily dependent on standardization of devices that are being used amongst all vehicles. The internet backhaul available in the country, you need to have real-time Wi-Fi available, or a 5G network available in the entire country for this to be enabled. Today, Internet of Vehicle largely across the world is being used more from a in-car entertainment and infotainment perspective. But I think the next level, which we've seen these tests happening in many countries and real-time implementation in some smaller cities, where vehicle-to-vehicle communication is being used for so many use cases, including the core and vanilla flavor being traffic management and better manageability of city roads and parking availability. So I think that's where the Internet of Vehicles is growing and growing very fast. But the mass adoption outside the labs that we have seen here is going to really be the next level of adoption that we'll see, which is close to 3 to 4 years away from where we sit today. Yeah.
All right. So, Sameer, initially while answering a couple of questions that I asked you in the beginning, you mentioned that the IoT specifically helps in providing data when it comes to the driver, the speed, the movement of cargo, etc. How does IoT applications exactly helping the drivers in increasing their productivity?
Yeah. I think, as I said, Sukriti, in one of my earlier comments, that IoT as part of the fleet management uh, uh, or the vehicle industry has been an age-old system which has been available. With electric vehicles coming in, it has become all the more necessary and must-have. But from a if we zoom out and we look at it from a fleet owner's perspective, or from a person's perspective who's been managing cargo delivery, passenger ferrying, the entire ability to sit back, hundreds of miles away or 10 miles away, and still being able to remotely not only monitor but also manage how the fleet is operating, it gives immense power back at the fleet. Now, I'll give you a simple use case about a cargo delivery, which is let's say initiated from Delhi, and it has to go all the way to Nagpur in Maharashtra. Now, the entire production line waiting at Nagpur, trying to predict when this vehicle will reach. Vehicle will reach has been completely surpassed, not necessarily by mobile telecommunication, but by simply putting up a small VTS device in the vehicle, where they can have a real-time view of when the vehicle will reach. Now, while this sounds like a very, very simple but yet very powerful use case, because trust me, the entire facility back in Nagpur, where they would have to line up the entire assembly, manpower, so much of resources. So there is a huge cost benefit from such a simple implementation of a VTS device in a vehicle. The reason why I'm stressing about the simplicity of this technology is because IoT, since last so many years, has significantly jumped from being a simple VTS device in a vehicle to giving so much of data on the vehicle. Now, what I'm talking about, so much of data, I mean, here the organization or the fleet owners can not only look at the time and route taken by the vehicle driver, but they can check the fuel consumption, which means that has there been any pilferage of fuel while the vehicle was on? Has there been any harsh braking? Has there been any idling time, which means that the vehicle is stopped at one place, without moving, which it was not supposed to do as per the design? Has the driver met with some small accidents which he has covered up? Has the driver taken a route which he was not supposed to? That's about route compliance and efficiency. All this sitting back hundreds of miles away at the click of a button on a real-time basis, including cameras fitted into the vehicle. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the numerous amount of data that is available today for fleet organizations to completely get their efficiency up and cost under control. So data here is gold, and it is being used for multiple use cases. Cargo delivery is just one example that I gave you, but from student protection to asset monitoring, please understand that the core of the platform throws out data from whatever asset is moving, and what you consume and do with that data is completely up to you. Possibilities that we can create with the the data that's being thrown at our end. Yeah.
Wonderful. Now, we've spoken at length about the current status, the pace, and the usage altogether of IoT that's actually aiding the entire mass adoption of EVs, Sameer. Tell me, what does the future trajectory of EV adoption in India look like? I mean, you mentioned that it's at a very faster pace going on right now. But what if I ask you for like 5 years, maybe down the lane, how does it look like?
Yeah. I think EV today exactly is sitting at where telecom was sitting 20 years back. And I struggle to look at any other analogy, and that's why I bring about telecom, because telecom close to 25 years back was in the single digit growth, something of a niche to be afforded by a few. EV, in fact, today is in a much better space than what telecom was at that point of time. But the way telecom became 100 plus density, today after 20 years, I think EV is exactly that sunrise space. The growth in this sector would definitely be led by two wheels, and I'm talking about volumes here. So two wheel and three wheel will rule the growth rate even today, even 5 years down the line. By the sheer spread of volume and the economic pyramid that we sit in the country. What will aid this is the government drive. This would clearly be a government push thing, at least for the next 3 to 4 years. Once the government has created enough interest, subsidy, and opportunity in the market for the private players, it will then be on an auto mode, based on the economics of the business, which will soon take over. Currently, a lot of large top 2-3 players in the Indian market who've been running the two-wheel market have been holding their guns to launch, because their assembly lines in the IC market are still tentative. So they are still weighing their options in terms of when should we introduce. So, you look at the Heroes and the TVS of the world, they all have electric vehicles in the market, but are they, have they started pulling out or deselling their non-electric vehicles? The answer is no. And rightly so. They will do it at the right time when they believe that the market adoption is at the peak, right? I mean, the data from, if you look at SMEV, which is a only society of manufacturers of electric vehicles, is very encouraging. The gross sales has surged by 20%, excluding e-rickshaws, and that itself is a huge number. We've seen 1.56 lakh electric vehicles sold, in 2020, and most of it is two-wheelers. Now, the two-wheeler adoption will grow. We are expecting it to grow by at least 200% every year, starting this year. Minus any new variant of COVID hitting us. We should also factor in the fact that last couple of years has been a very bad phase for business in terms of a lot of start and stop has happened, both in electric vehicle and the battery segment, because of the way the virus has hit us. Otherwise, these numbers would have looked even more promising. There would also be a direct correlation between customer awareness, charging infra, and rise in customer adoption, right? At least for the three-wheeler segment, I think there is a need for a large ecosystem of charging infra which needs to come up, and it is much slower than the demand of electric vehicles in the market. So charging infra is lagging right now, but I think it's in a matter of next 12 to 24 months, we'll see a significant jump in charging infra. The two-wheeler industry, however, I think is pushing for a de-link between charging infra and adoption of two-wheel, which means there is a mindset thing over there where they are trying to encourage the consumer to charge the batteries in a two-wheeler like they charge a mobile phone. So I think there is a large space available there where both charging infra, customer mindset, customer awareness, and a standardized vehicle quality needs to come out in the marketplace. Today, there are hundreds of OEMs coming up with different varieties of electric vehicles, and there is not much to choose between a large manufacturer and a small manufacturer. Everything looks the same. But I think this will unwind. The next couple of years is the year of a lot of consolidation, where a lot of players will come under one umbrella, and you will see a few OEMs becoming large names in the country. But the adoption is clearly going to be in multiple percentages in the next few quarters that we can see.
Thank you so much, Sumi, for sharing your thoughts through this insightful conversation. I'm sure you've given us so many learnings about the enablement of IoT in EVs and how it's actually, providing us with the right kind of evolution and innovation in the entire EV market. Sameer, thank you so much for doing this with us.
Sukriti, thank you so much for having me here, and I hope to see you again soon once on the high end of the EV curve when the country reaches there. Thank you so much.
Sure, definitely. I'm also looking forward to getting some more insights when we reach out to the conclusion of the insights that you've shared, and when this turns into a reality, Sameer. Audience, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you had a good time learning about the role of IoT in boosting the mass adoption of EVs in India. Stay tuned to TechGig for more such podcasts and all the latest tech happenings. This is your host signing off.